So after covering the fundamental equations of the DC motor, I think it's a perfect time to present you the torque speed curve. So in the last video we saw that when we don't apply any load, we achieve the maximum speed. And we can observe that from our equation. When we don't have any load, I is almost equal to 0, so we use the whole input voltage, the whole potential to generate the spinning motion. But once we apply some load, when we have some torque, the speed will start dropping for this certain voltage. And when we keep increasing the load, at some point the speed will be 0. And we can observe that from our equation again. When I reaches the certain value, IR equals to the input voltage, so the armature voltage will be 0. So this point we call stall torque, when we don't have any speed, when we don't have any motion. So we have these 2 points, no load speed and stall torque, and then we can plot this direct line. And this line, we call it torque speed curve. And from this curve we can get some interesting observations. For example, if we have this certain speed, let's say this is like 5 rotations per second, let's say, we know how much torque we can get. Okay, so for each speed value we have the maximum torque we can achieve. Okay, and the problem with the DC motors is that we can reach really high speed, but in terms of the torque we are really limited. Okay, and to solve this problem we have a gearbox. So when we use the gearbox, we can completely change the torque speed curve. So instead of having this blue line, we end up with the red line. So our speed is less, and this amount is sufficient for us, but we increase the torque, the maximum torque we can achieve multiple times. So for example, if we have this speed, with this blue line, we can achieve only this torque. Okay, but once we use the gearbox, we can get much higher. Okay, we go here, we go up to this point. So that's why when we have robotic applications and when we use the DC motor, we need a gearbox. And for example, the motor I showed you, this is the motor, and the rest, this one is the gearbox. So next thing, we will steadily switch to the practical side of the course when we drive the motor using the microcontroller. So in the last video, again, I showed you how to run the motor using the power supply. But when we use the microcontroller to drive the motor, the 2 problems arise. The first problem is that when we have the power supply, we have unlimited current, the amount of current we need. And that's why when we have the load, the current increases, but since the power supply can provide that essential current value, that we can keep spinning the motor. But when we use the microcontroller, each pin has, let's say, can provide maybe 20-30 milliamps, very limited. So we cannot directly connect our motor to the DC motor. Okay, that's the first problem. And to solve this problem, we use MOSFETs, or let's say in general, transistors. So the first case, when we have the microcontroller pin, we cannot run the motor because we have limited current amount, but we can use the MOSFET. So the input voltage, input power could be battery or could be power supply that can generate enough current. And here we use microcontroller pin just to control the gate. So we close the gate and the current can flow and we can spin the motor. We open the gate so current cannot flow and the motor will stop spinning. So using the microcontroller pin, we control the state of the gate, state of the transistor. But the power supply is coming from the external source, which could be battery, which could be power supply. Okay, So in this arrangement, we can of course spin the motor, there's no problem, but we cannot change the direction of rotation. So once we settle, we cannot spin the rotor in an opposite direction. So that's why we have H-bridge. So in H-bridge, we don't have just a single MOSFET, instead we have 4 MOSFETs. So when we close the gate in S0 and S3, the current will flow in this direction, okay? But if we close S2 and S1, the current will flow in this direction. So we can spin both clockwise and counterclockwise. That's why the H-bridge is a perfect solution for driving the DC motors. The next important thing to consider is that, of course, we can build our hardware H-bridge like using the MOSFETs, but there are a lot of issues we need to consider. Like we have the thermal issues, the circuit itself, like what kind of MOSFET to use, and the current limitation. Like at some point, if the voltage is too much, we can burn the MOSFETs. So there's a lot of problems if you build the custom hardware. And of course, if you're an IC circuit designer, maybe that could be a really interesting project for you. But in general, when we work on robotic applications, we don't use MOSFET. Instead, we use motor drivers, which contain the MOSFET and MOSFETs like H-bridge and other protective circuit. So it has a thermal protection, it has overcurrent protection, over voltage protection, everything, so we can easily run the motor. So it's like a plug and play solution. And here I listed, I think, popular motor DC motors, DC motor drivers. You can check them on the web, and at least you can have a general idea how they work. So we solved our first problem using the MOSFET. The second problem is that we cannot adjust the voltage level when we use the microcontroller. Like when we have the power supply, we can just tune the input voltage and we can control the velocity, okay? But here when we have the microcontroller, we don't have analog output. Or even if we have, we cannot use it to control the MOSFET. In digital applications, there's a really popular signal that we call pulse width modulation, or in short, we call it PWM signal. It's a signal that allows us to generate analog signal using the digital one. So let me show how it works. So if we close S0 and S3, we provide this maximum power supply to this voltage, to this motor, I'm sorry. But what if we close the gate, not all the time, but 50% of the time? And what if we switch really, really fast, like not like once per second, but let's say 1,000 times per second or 10,000 times per second. So since we do it really, really fast, and when we switch really, really fast, the voltage level around the motor will reach some stable point, stable level. And this stable level depends on the duty cycle, which is the ratio between the high state and the period of the PWM signal. So if we close the gates like 50% of the time, like half of the time, the level will be the half of the power supply. If, for example, if this is a 10 volts, and if the PWM signal duty cycle is 50%, the voltage around the motor is around 5 volts. But if we set 20% duty cycle, we can get 2 volts, for example. So this way, by just adjusting the duty cycle, we can control the velocity of the motor. And the great thing about the microcontrollers is that we have so many options to generate the PWM signals. So we have like not just a single pin, but we have multiple pins to generate the PWM signal. So this is gonna be topic for the next lesson. So we will learn how to generate the PWM signal, and also we will use some motor driver to spin the motor. Okay, so we are going to build a real setup to run the motor. So see you in the next lesson.